Hornets, Blazers. Over to you.
So this one is essentially you're dropping back 8 spots in the draft from 6 to 14, which that is other than this last trade here with New Orleans where you're getting like a real significant player. This is a pretty significant drop here. Honestly, now that I look at the last trade that we did, the value on this is probably not quite there. Like Portland is probably giving up a little bit too much here, especially for what they're getting. But trading
you can modify on the fly.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Just everyone watching on YouTube, just forget that second first round pick is there. We're getting Malcolm Brogdon in exchange for Davis Bertans, and then dropping from 6 to 14. And then we're also going to pick up a 2025 second round pick via Atlanta. So, who knows where they end. I mean, that could be at the top of the second round if they rebuild. It could be towards the bottom if they make a bunch of trades and hit on them. So really have no idea where the value would be at on that one. But you get a pretty good like spot starter, former sixth man of the year in Malcolm Brogdon that could play alongside LaMelo or could back him up and be very reliable in that role. Obviously on an expiring deal as a veteran that would be, you would imagine, somebody that can at least go out and play semi-reliable two-way play, which they've needed from really any backup rotation spot for a long time. So as long as he can stay healthy, which has kind of been a struggle over the last couple of years, but he would be a really good fit on this team. Somebody that I've actually been eyeing basically since it became evident that he was not long for the world in Boston. I've kind of thought he would be a pretty good fit with the Hornets as somebody that could take over for LaMelo whenever LaMelo is injured and could play alongside him and be effective as well.
I've been a fan of Malcolm Brogdon since he was at Virginia. He was one of my second-round sleepers in the draft. I never understood. Well, I think one of the reasons he went so late was because he has like this chronic hip issue, which I think has been at the source of some of the injuries issues he's had as an NBA career. But whenever he's been on the floor, he's been extremely effective. I really like his game. Like you said, a 1-year deal, so expires after the season. My only hiccup on this one is you're moving back 8 spots in the draft for a 1-year rental of Malcolm Brogdon, and I just don't think he resigns in Charlotte because that would be quite a surprise. And yes, you get a 2025 second rounder, but if Brogdon was under for like 2 or 3 more years, I would actually feel better about this. We should also add, by the way, that Davis Bertans is on the trade on the other side of it to make the money work. So that's where my hang-up is. It's you're moving back 8 spots for a 1-year rental for someone who struggles with injuries. Even though I really like the idea of everything you described in Brogdon, I just need it for more than 1 year. And that's my hang-up on this one.
I actually thought about that as well, but to think about it this way, this is his 4th team in 4 years. He's going into his age 32 season. What if the Hornets are one of those teams that actually, has a productive offseason, which we haven't seen in a long time? But now with this new regime coming in, I actually feel pretty confident that they're going to make some real moves and shuffle the deck chairs a little bit here. What if it just works and the Hornets are healthy, A, and B, just make the right moves and get better players that fit around each other? And Malcolm Brogdon is one of them. He has a clearly defined role as, maybe not a 6th man of the year, but is one of the better bench players in the league and gets to start a handful of games as well whenever the situation calls for it. Why not extend there, for like 2 or 3 more years? He's going to be 32. Like I said, if you have a really productive year on a good Charlotte team this year, your 4th team in 4 years, if they're willing to pay you at least as much as other teams are, if not like a little bit more even, I guess why not? Like, you know what I mean? Like there is a case to be made, I think, for him re-signing here if everything goes well, just because he is good. Don't get me wrong. I actually really like his game as well. He's a really good floor spacer, playmaker, straight line driver and finisher. He can defend both backcourt spots.
Yeah, good defender too.
But
good
he
leader.
Is not exactly. He's a really poised, steady veteran player. But he's not quite that good to where I think another team is going to view him as the missing piece or anything like that. I mean, Boston, played about as well as he could as a 6th man of the year, and then they traded him immediately for Drew Holiday, which understandable. But obviously if he could find a steady situation here, I feel like that would be maybe worth passing up, maybe ring chasing or whatever you'd want to call it later in your career, just to find some stability again, like he had earlier in his career with Milwaukee and Indiana.
Yeah, look, if his agent suggests he's open to that before the deal, then I think that is something you do explore. Because like you say, I think he was nicknamed as the president coming out the draft or at some point, because he's just Everyone loves the guy, and he was a leader. And God knows the Hornets need that. The reason it makes sense in theory, just history tells us that it just rarely happens, right? Like, I remember Jeremy Lin, when he came to Charlotte, he was kind of like, he flamed out a little bit in, I want to say, Houston after signing a deal, like, or maybe I'm getting my teams mixed up here, but
I
he
think it
came
was
to
Houston
Charlotte.
and the Lakers or something like that.
Yeah,
and then
he came to Charlotte in a similar situation where he'd been passed around. He'd kind of lost his way in the NBA a little bit, and he had a great year with the Hornets. And everyone was like, he had a great year. Like, surely he just wants some stability. He's got a defined role here, playing next to with Kemba Walker. Everything's great. You know, Linsanity's back in Charlotte. And then he just signed a deal and left. And again, went back into NBA obscurity, right? And never really found that role again. And even though it made sense on paper, I just feel like the Hornets never seem to get that benefit of the doubt. But if he's willing to give that, then I agree with you. I am more interested in it if he's willing to extend for a couple of years, even if the injury issues do scare the bejesus out of me.